So what does tightrope walking have to do with farming? See all these little ropes up here? Think I can practice up there? Well, let me tell you what it has to do with. Recently, I broke my wrist. Before I go any further, let me stop and show you. It snowed last night here in upstate New York. Look at it. It's like the 16th of April, and we will have snow on and off, just little light spurts. Could be up to May 31st. Usually not that far into it, but you might look up in the sky and you might have a few flakes. It will melt all by the end of the day. But anyway, recently I broke my wrist and the cast just came off. It's still sore. It will be sore for about 6 weeks on and off, the healing process. So I have to take it easy. And when you are doing gentleman farming, homesteading, hobby farming, and any of that type of thing, just anybody in general, you need to learn how to balance, how to carry things, how to move around when the weather's bad, because we move around probably a lot more than a lot of people our age because of our gentleman farm, which is basically a farm that you don't live off of, but it's kind of like just for fun. That's what a gentleman farm is. So anyway, here's a couple things about tightrope walkers that you may not know. Number one, of course, is that they keep in shape. They have that long pole because it's all about balance. They want to be able to walk on that rope, not particularly this rope, and they want to have those poles, which they kind of bend them a little bit in the middle. So if you ever see a tightrope walker, they're kind of bent. The pole is bent and it's really long to disperse their weight because they're trying to get everything in the middle. And the same thing kind of happens if you want to go back and look at my video on how not to slip on ice. That, you know, it's all about balancing. Now with ice, you kind of walk with your feet out like a penguin. On a tightrope walker, they're going to have special shoes, and they're just like keeping that balance in the middle and that type of thing. Now, there's more than one way to balance. Movers, they have to bring big things around, and they have to be able to balance those heavy weights so that they don't take too much pressure. Now, I talked to someone that was a picking manager for a company, and they told me that when you carry boxes to disperse the weight in the middle, you hold your hands, like one hand's on this side and one hand's on the other, on the bottom, it's like diagonal to carry boxes. It disperses the weight, so you know you're still walking upright with it, but that way you're not being too harsh on yourself. So as a farmer and all that, you need to do as many things as you can to prevent yourself from injuries, because unfortunately it happens. There's just so many more things that you're doing that average people don't use or do, that it gives you more opportunity to get hurt. Like example, you have to feed your animals in a snowy day, so you might walk on ice. You might have to move something. That's why I talked about the tightrope walker into a real tight area. So it's good to learn the skills, ask questions of people that are in those industries, to say, hey, what do you do to make so you don't fall, or this type of thing, because it's kind of a little bit like being a mother too when you're into homesteading and all this, because you have to learn to be a jack of all trades. Like, you might get a sick animal and it's nothing major, but you might have to learn enough to take care of it long enough for it to go to the vet. There's all kinds of things like that you need to learn, but today we're talking about balancing and tightrope walkers. I just want to encourage you to step out of the box a little bit and learn the skill of balancing things, because when somebody gets injured on your little farm, that means possibly loss of income for some. The other person or family members have to take up the slack, and then you yourself have to suffer the injury, which could even be for the rest of your life. Like I told Clay when I fell, I'm so glad it was me and not him, because of the fact that he had broke his hip. Now where I fell was over here on this little slope, and we had intended to build stairs there, but what happened was Clay had hip surgery, so that meant we couldn't do it. And so we walked down this slope, and there's only, like, that pole is our property line up there. So I'd be like walking on my neighbor's property, which I try not to do, in order to go down the slope. So I have to take the slope, and in the winter it's not plowed out over here and things. So there's different issues. So if some things are unpreventable, but sometimes if you learn some skills, going slower, learning balance, and if you see yourself going into a fall, not pulling yourself forward, which is what we usually do. I mean, it happens so quick, especially if you're sliding. But if you can learn those extra skills, like when you have a few minutes to yourself, those little tricks and tips like that can really help you in an emergency. And those are the things that a lot of times we look at the fun, but it's kind of boring. It's like doing your A-E-I-O-U's when you're in school to learn the alphabet and learning how to write words. Some of these things, they may seem like, oh, more work. I got enough to do. I don't need to be taking time to do that. But some of those things, that preventive stuff, saves you big bucks. So I'm always looking for ways to improve myself so that I can help other people and, of course, help my own family. Because if I learn how to balance things and I'm better at it, then I'll be able to keep myself healthier. And as you get older, I'm 57, one of the big concerns is falling. And so, everybody always worries about falling. But if you learn little tips, then you can prevent some of that stuff. Some things are just inevitable, Somebody throws a baseball in your face. I mean, it happens, But in the same sense, there's a lot of things that happen on farms. There's a lot of injuries on farms. People fall off trees. People get things that fall on them. They slip, they fall, and then it puts the farm back for a long time. And there's enough things, and as you get older, there's more things. And so while you're young, learn yourself, teach your family, get those balancing skills. Start to practice good balance, like when you lift, bend your knees, slip ups, lift slowly. Don't be in such a hurry, and you will find that over time, you'll be better off. I know my dad was always really strict about certain things. He had 7 kids, and we weren't allowed to pick up each other and do things like that, because he had an aunt that somebody picked up and dropped, and she was crippled the rest of her life. And I guess the point of that is to say, if you train your family in all these little tips, then they leave your home and go off and teach other people. So I did want to talk to you about balance. Not a whole lot to say about it, just basically most of it is just picking up and, leveraging everything from your middle. But like I said, when you run into people and they say, hey, I'm a trucker or something like that, just take that extra second and be bold and say, hey, I've always wondered, how do you do this? Or how do you load that? Or, even if you're moving, ask your moving guys. Call on the phone to the moving guy and say, hey, I'm moving. How are you guys going to balance my stuff so it's not all nicked up, Anytime you're going to do anything, when you get somebody delivering stuff, ask them questions, because that's how you learn and how you grow. And of course, there's tons of YouTubes out there as well. But, take advantage of the little daily things that are around you every single day, because balance is important and you'll feel better, your health will be better, and you'll save your family thousands of dollars in accidents. And it'll be a lot more easy for you too when you go to move things and cart things around your farm, and you won't be sitting the next day crying like, oh. One thing we do at my house too is we don't overdo. When we physically had enough, we stop. Because if we don't stop and you have a daily loads of lots of work, what happens is the next day you're not worth anything. So we'll work usually, and about 3 o'clock we stop. Not that we have to work, because it's a gentleman's farm, it's a hobby, it's not like our job, but we enjoy it. It gives us something to do. Okay guys, with that, like, subscribe, share this video on your Facebook, Twitter, and all that. And remember, big or small, you too could be a backyard farm.